Welcome to the Deep Dive podcast with myself, Pamela Walsh. I can't even talk. Pamela Walsh and the lovely.
Keep that in, Aoife. Keep that in. What's
Say
your
name properly.
What's your name?
Pamela Walsh and
Sean Horn. I never get my name wrong. I have to correct people too many times. Good morning. How are we?
I clearly can't speak, but I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. Do you know what, though? I think it's because we haven't got over our nightclub experience the other night, that it felt like. We went to see Stephen Bartlett, but obviously had to get back to Cork. So I say we were both home about 2:15.
Yeah, knackered.
So I haven't quite got over it. I haven't been like out that late for such a long time, and obviously the drive. But yeah, what did you think? What was your thoughts on the whole Stephen Bartlett life and business talk in Dublin this week?
I really liked it. I was surprisingly so. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much. I thought it would be just a rehash of the book. And like I've read the book now twice. So I was like, oh, kind of going through the motions to go to it. But as obviously he referred to the book a lot, but I really enjoyed it. I know you didn't really like the end. I think I get why he did it. It brought up certain feelings in me towards the end about different things. I think it could be depending on where you are in your stage of life as well, watching that, you know what I mean? I did enjoy it in the whole. I thought he speaks really, really well.
Yeah.
He comes across really well on stage. He's really smooth. Like he didn't even really look like he was reading from an auto cue or anything. Just very natural, really good speaker. I did enjoy it. I would highly recommend.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. And honestly, it had a lot to do with me because, like, as you know, I wasn't fussed on going. I was very tired. Then when we got up there, everybody we met, actually, everybody said the same thing. It's very late. It's very late because we met a good sort of half a dozen or so people from the club and stuff, and everybody's like, it's so late, it's so late. So I just think if you want people at their best and to listen to you and to be motivated, there was no reason why it wasn't on at 10 o'clock in the morning. It should have been much more high energy. I mean, all I could see was him reading the auto cue, but I thought he was good at reading auto cue. Because I watch those things, you know, as a speaker and an MC, I'm always like, how are they doing this? And they had 5 screens set up for him, and he was very good. He really had pinned down that. I thought was excellent. I loved the talk. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really well put together. I didn't dislike the end. I actually, 2 days on, I hated the ending.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was crap. I thought it was like going to see a really good film, and 10 minutes before the finish, you turn to your friend and go, oh, that was a crap ending. For anybody that wasn't there, it was about mortality. And actually, I don't think it matters what stage of life you're at. The video that he played,
or the girl,
was a very young girl, and about her mortality. We all know the saying, no one sat on their deathbed and said, I wish I'd worked more. No one did this. What changes do you want to make? I'm very well aware of my mortality. I'm very well aware that I'm on the wrong side of it. I don't need someone to throw that down my throat. And it left me, after watching her video, I was very upset.
Yeah.
And then I actually have to tell you that I think that thing with the jelly beans at the end, I thought was just rubbish. It was very American.
Yeah.
And it just went on for too long. And then he just went, so what are you going to do? Thank you. Goodbye. And it was just so weird. It wasn't a mic drop moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I think he was trying to make it dramatic, like.
Yeah, it did not land.
No, and it wasn't. Like you didn't come out of it as high energy as I had been at certain points of it, definitely. Because it did, like I remember there was one like little spreadsheet that he brought up that, like, if you're within this age range, 5 years either side of you, you have this many on average days left in the thousands. And because I was looking where I was, and I'm kind of like, well, I suppose I'm nearly 40 now, I was in the center. I did look towards like the last one was like the 75, 70 to 75s, and it's like 1,300 days left. And my
I'll tell you,
parents are at that age.
I can tell you, because I have it here.
Yeah.
So at 75, you've used 27,375 days of your life. You have 1,306 days left expectancy. So this is on average
Yeah.
living. But it's you can't. I just don't look. I just thought it was really morbid.
Yeah.
I
Because
understand what it was doing because it was the journey of business and life. So
hmm
but I think actually the emphasis of the finishing of your business was tiny. And
yeah,
the emphasis of we all know we're dying. Like you're not teaching me anything here. Do you know what I mean? That's the only one certainty we have is that we're all going to die.
the
But yeah, I
finishing was
just
like to quit or to, because he calls himself like a professional quitter. He knows when to walk away from things and knowing
yeah,
when to walk away. But and then it just went straight into debt. I do
yeah.
think he was trying to emphasize like don't sweat the small stuff. We're all going to die. And I know Alex Hormozy was talking about this recently as well on a podcast. It's like it gives him great just relief in that 6 months after you die 90% of people won't even think of you again. And to him, that's very freeing, you know? And I think people think about it like that as well. It's just like, at the end, like this is all there is. So make your absolute most out of it. And I think there are people in the world that just get caught up in the overthinking and maybe he was trying to play to a younger generation of this is all you have left. Don't be sweating the small stuff, So what are you going to do with your jelly beans? It's
But
just
people won't always remember what you say, but they will always
the
remember
ending.
how you make them feel. And he left me feeling sad and just sad. I
But
just felt sad.
he says this in the book. We covered this a couple of laws ago. It's like the ending of the experience, and either the highest or the lowest in the experience is what you walk away with. So it is unusual for him to end it on such a kind of a stark,
It's,
morbid point.
I actually thought it was just bizarre. And like, rule 101, motivational speaking is the
Hmm.
shit sandwich.
Yeah.
You take it up to the peak, you get serious in the center, you leave people on that high.
Hmm.
He left me on the lowest part of the whole talk.
Yeah.
And this is what I couldn't get over because I've woken up again today thinking about it. So, like, if I'm teaching a 45-minute Pilates class, right? I want to teach something really, really difficult. I know my people are going to probably hate me for teaching them it. I always teach that bang in the middle. The end of the class, I always lengthen them. I always make them feel good. I always stretch them out. And they normally have forgotten about the pain they were in when they were trying to do the real difficult move in the center of that piece. I thought that however he wanted to get that message across, whoever wrote that, I don't think he did.
Hmm.
Whoever wrote that, it didn't land. It was not good. But it
I
doesn't take away from a brilliant talk.
hmm
But I can't remember a lot of the talk because I'm so
on that.
obsessed with how badly it ended.
I think if he cut the jelly bean shite and didn't have that in it, had that lovely girl Holly talking, because I get that, because it's the stark realization of life is short and you don't know what's going to happen. But then, like, after going through that and highlighting this fact, bringing it up to, so what you should do is XYZ, bring us back up. These are the high level summaries, and then end on that high. Because I do think you need to see this darkness of doing all of these things, but death is imminent and death is going to come and get us all. So make sure you're enjoying life, but bring us
Well,
down and bring us back up before you end it.
yeah,
But
no,
the
like, do
jelly
you
bean
know
stuff
what?
is a bit shite.
I mean, to me, it was a business and life talk. I thought the numbers of this is how many days you've got left if you're this age, that age. I thought that was awful. I thought the jelly beans were shite. And I think at the end of the day, the way that he could have lifted that was to continue. He should have continued for 5 or 10 minutes
Yeah.
and gone, okay, so these are the numbers on the screen. However, we know that this is an average. And how many people in this room are average? You
Hmm.
are not average. We are all unique. We are all amazing. So let's take it back to that peak. And I would have brought people back to that motivational piece. I thought, yeah, look, I'll be honest.
Even if he talked about entrepreneurs that started at later stages of life, he did this then, she did this at that age, you know what I mean? Just to give a bit more optimism. But it was, the ending was a bit, yeah. Right,
Yeah,
we ran then back to Cork.
absolutely. I just thought it was a real shame. It's just left me feel very dull. And if I'd left actually about 15 minutes before the end, because I was like, what time is this ending? Like, we need to get on the road. Um, I wish I'd nudged you and said, I think we should go. And we would have actually missed that last 10 minutes. And then I would have thought he was bloody amazing.
Then I would have felt like I would have thought we were missing out on something more amazing, but
Oh, what? Just someone telling that you're going to die? Do you not know that? Did you learn something new?
no, but we wouldn't have known that he would have went there with that. No, it
Yeah.
was a news, but like I still think outside of that, like he's still. It's funny that he's given all this life advice. He's what, 30? He's just
Yeah, but
stood on a stage on his own talking, and he
yeah,
carried it well for what, 2 hours he spoke?
an hour and a half with break. So
Was it
what
45 and 45? It seemed longer.
no, because it didn't come on till 8:30. And then we had a 20-minute break and we
Mm.
finished at 20 past 11. Yeah, it was 45.
Okay, I thought it
That's
was
an hour and a
longer.
half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what I was going to say though was what I actually enjoyed about it was because I would have been annoyed if it was him talking. It's him talking about the advice he's been given.
From
And
the
that
people he's
makes,
interviewed, like, yeah,
yes, and that
yeah.
makes sense to me because I can't take advice from a 31-year-old. So that makes complete sense to me. And I thought, like I said, I thought it was really well done. I
Mm.
thought the talk was excellent, but I don't know who wrote the ending because it was crap. Anyway, let's go back to the book.
We are on Law 15. I'll do a summary.
Yep.
The law, the frame matters more than the picture. What you say is not all that you say. What you say is determined by the context in which your message, product, or service exists. If you change the frame, you change your message. Your customers will hear everything, including the things you didn't say. Don't just focus on what you say, focus on how the frame around what you're trying to say is positively or negatively distorting your message. A smart frame will transform the plane.
So for me, this is the shiny stuff.
Hmm.
This is like the sizzle of the steak. This is the Joe Malone piece. This is the Apple Gallery. This is, making people feel that they live in your business, that they can feel your business. Again, back to it's how you make people feel.
Yeah, it's brand as well, though, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
it really, like, brand is the frame that your product sits around your product. Like,
absolutely. And, you know, when I was looking at this, I was thinking of people that do it really well. Um, I know obviously Stephen is part of Whoop, but Whoop do it well.
yeah, and he
Um,
talks about that in the book as well. Whoop refused to put a watch face or time onto their strap because they want to differentiate themselves, and they feel that it will like reduce their value because they'll just be pulled into kind of wear a watch now with this extra capability. They want to really stand out and be different as a what do they call themselves? A performance
it's a performance um strap. Let's just
strap. I want to say strap, but like I know there's another phrase. I'm like, what's a different word for strap?
oh, everybody knows what a Whoop is. If you don't know what
Yeah.
a Whoop is, where are you living? But I think that's it. And then its perception as well, I think, is really, really important.
Hmm.
Um, I had some examples. So like obviously that he used Tesla
Yeah.
and talking about, the pleather that they use, giving the example of, it's not leather, it's plastic that they're
They
using.
call it vegan leather, which is it's plastic, but they've
Actually,
called it vegan leather to sell it and frame it better.
I have this shirt. This is amazing. Irish business, Callow, Kalo, and this is made of apple leather.
Okay.
And I was like, what do you mean apple leather? Well, obviously it's made of apples, but I just think it's so clever. In the
Hmm.
90s, if someone had offered me an apple leather bag, I would have been, are you mad? Now I'm all over it. And it's actually stunning and a beautiful small Irish business. So we give them a shout out.
It's really soft, is it, the apple leather? I've seen it before and things really soft, really kind of nice texturally.
It's really lovely. And Polestar cars, actually another one that I've had a look at recently. And like 80% of the car is recyclable.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I did mean to say bubble, before anybody says you can't pronounce that word. So yeah, no, look, a lot of it is perception and how we sell things, using the right words to the market that we're selling to.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's
Yeah, because
completely right.
it's the saying it's 90% lean versus 10% fat.
Yes,
I think you know what? I actually, every time I watch it, I'm always like, but what was the original value? Room to improve, Dermot Bannon, bloody hell. But we only went 50,000 euro over budget. That's how they frame it at the end. And I'm like, but what was the original budget? The original budget is typically like 100,000 euro. Them going 50 grand over is we went 50% over budget. Sounds a lot worse than saying we went 50,000 euro over budget, you know? They
wow,
always frame it that way. They always talk about the value because if you went as a percentage of the original budget, it shows that they hammered the budget out and it was ruined. Like um
that's
Prime as
fine.
well. But he talks in the book, he talks about if you do a blind taste test, they've done studies and blind taste tests of Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. And in a white label cup, people typically pick Pepsi over Coca-Cola from a taste point of view, but when it's in a glass bottle, they'll pick the Coca-Cola because it's the brand and the frame of Coca-Cola. And I think Prime, I know, it's horrendous. I like, tell me now somebody who actually enjoys the taste of Prime, but it flew off the shelves. It was so hard to get because they branded it and they framed it really well. And I know my nephew use it as his water bottle for school because just having that bottle and that frame was just so like the thing to have.
Isn't it sad? Have you followed those guys?
I'm not in. I kept my head out of all of that. I don't get it. It's flying off the shelves. They were charging.
Yeah.
I think it's come down now in price again. It was a TikTok thing though, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean the two guys, it's an MMA fighter, whatever. Anyway, if you watch them, it's quite scary that our children are these are the people they look up to, however they are. Um, yeah, I'm not a fan.
It's awful stuff. I don't get it, but obviously they're appealing to a different audience and they've
100%.
generated all of this buzz around it, but just a brand that's fly and it doesn't even taste nice.
No, but I think they made it that way because it's supposed to be give you magical skills. It's that whole thing of, I think in this law he mentions Red Bull.
Hmm.
Like they made Red Bull not to taste. They wanted it to taste more medicine-y because it was
Yeah.
supposed to be give you magic wings. So that has a lot to do with the taste as well.
Yeah. It is, and it's coming back to perception every time. It's the smoke and the
100%.
mirrors and what you want people to see. Which contrasts with like the authenticity as well behind things, because it's am I authentic or am I smoke and mirrors and want people to see what they want to see? It's finding that balance, isn't it? It's
100%.
difficult.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And certainly something that you should bring into your business without a doubt.
That's where strategy comes in.
Absolutely. So we're going to do another law. We're going to do law 16.
So law
Use
16,
mm,
will I read it?
yeah, go for it.
Use Goldilocks to your advantage. People are inclined to make value judgments based on context, so offering a range of options, including an economy, standard, and premium version of your product, can tell a story and affect potential customers' perception of the standard offering. The context creates the value.
So this is my world because as an ex Groupon salesperson back in the day, this is all we did
Hmm.
was to create perception of, you know, extra value so that we could discount heavily and get people to the businesses that needed it. And it's so funny, actually, I think we spoke about this before, but working for a company like that makes complete sense to me. The reason I ended up working for them was I used them in my business, and I was the first person actually to put a facial on Groupon when they launched in Dublin, because I needed footfall. So it was a marketing strategy for me, which worked exceptionally well. For other people, it was a business income, not so well, because you can't rely on something like that if it's not in your marketing budget. However, my conversion was massive because I'm a good salesperson. So when I was going to, say, do a deal, so if it was with a hotel, I'd be looking at the room, I'd be looking at the rate that we could get for that room, then I'd be looking for the add-ons that we could get. So what wouldn't, your fixed rates against your variable spend. So basically, what wouldn't cost the hotel money but had a great value. So things like, if you stay in a nice hotel, sometimes it will cost you €25 to go and use the wet area in their gorgeous spa. We could add that into the price. On arrival, when you're checking in, they could give them a tea and coffee for not a lot of expense, but great value. So we could add that in. So yeah, so look, this is really important, and I think people need to understand the importance of it and the understanding of what your fixed and variable costs are. A lot of the time, people will say to me, "Oh no, Sean, I couldn't give a discount. I'm full all the time." And I go, "Fantastic." I don't know, say it's a beautician's, for example, it's an easy one. How many days are you open a week? Oh, I'm open 4 days a week. Okay, well, what times? 8 till 8 p.m. Okay, brilliant. So you're open 12 hours a day, 4 days a week, and you're full for those 48 hours. Well, no, we'd be quiet around 12 till 3:30, 4 o'clock. Okay, so we need to do something around those times. Your fixed costs are still going. You're still paying your electric, you're still paying that. So in those times, we're going to offer an X amount of discount to fill. If you're not full every hour of the day, you're not busy.
Yeah. No, but I get that, like, and it is that fixed versus variable, because variable costs just move with your sales. If there's no sales, there's no costs, and that's all
Yeah,
good. It's that fixed cost that you're always trying to make sure you're covering that at a minimum. That's how you're running.
absolutely. And I used to move some of my fixed costs into variable.
Hmm.
So, for instance, staff wages. So
Yeah.
in a beautician's, for instance, I used to pay my girls a rate, their hourly rate, a good rate. But if their room was full, I used to pay them a higher rate. So then that became a variable cost to me
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
no, because everybody rebooked themselves because no one wanted to be sitting around getting the lower wage.
Yeah, and you could do as well like a fixed rate up to a certain number of clients, and then above that it's
Yeah,
extra, different. So I've seen it done different ways, and that's bringing the incentive back to the employee as well to perform. That's performance-based pricing as well, and I'm always pushing that in businesses I'm in, because it's raising the bar within a business as well. It's allowing your employees to feel like they're part of it, that they have a voice, a say, and control over things. And the more agency and control an employee feels like they have, the better they perform across the board
yeah.
anyway.
And also think about what you want from your customer. So, for instance, in my, I teach Pilates. Pilates is created to do at least twice a week. So I don't really want to offer my clients really good deal on coming once a week,
Hmm.
because it's not good for them, their body. It's not good because they're the people that go for a cup of coffee and go, "Oh, I'm doing Pilates, but I don't really feel the difference." Well, you won't. So what we do is we give a really good offering for people that come twice a week on an ongoing basis. We reward them with a cheaper offering.
Yeah.
So their perception is, okay, now I understand. I get a cheaper offering because I'm actually doing what I should be doing. So and they're rewarding me for it. So it's a win-win for both sides.
But it's same with like projects, like you price a short duration project at a certain rate. But if you're going into like a long-term retainer client, you might give them a discounted, of your standard hourly rate or whatever it is. You wouldn't go value-based pricing unless there's deliverables to that retainer. It's just how you would change those pricing. But I do think for things like that where like it's if you're working with me like this, it's this, and if you're committed to me longer, we'll give you a rate on that. But I think that value based, like we were talking a couple of weeks ago about, I'll always buy the middle priced wine, not the lower end. The higher end is for birthdays and special occasions. Because unless I know a wine, if I'm sitting down and I know a wine and I know I like that wine, I will always buy that wine. So I do think the customer's level of knowledge about the service or the product really comes to play here. Because I think if
My,
there's a low level of
yeah,
knowledge, then they're price driven and they'll try to get the
yeah,
best deal. But if they know what they're talking about, and like, I don't know how much a price from, like, if it's a good wine and I love it, I'll pay the higher price if it's something that I really like. And he talked in the book about, he was going to buy a property and the selling agent showed him of an overpriced smaller property in that area and a really, really expensive property in that area, so that the property you wanted him to buy was in the middle and looked really well. So he positioned it well. But I think had Stephen done his own research and been really knowledgeable about properties and what's available and what the value really is, he wouldn't have needed to do that. So it does depend on what information and knowledge your clients are coming to you with already. 'Cause I see online, do you see? And I just laugh about, I have a friend of mine now, we just send each other screenshots back and forth when we see it. When people are doing these offers or programs, it's like valued at €7,000. Today it's
yeah.
priced 999. You're like, girl, you're pulling that out of your arse here. Like, it needs to be realistic. You can't be pulling prices out of nowhere. It has to look like a realistic discount, not something that's falling out of the sky, because nobody's going to go for that. I just laugh and take
Yeah.
screenshots.
The only time I really give a discount on my services is if someone is paying up front, because then it's in my account. So
Hmm.
they deserve a discount. It's not in their account. Do you know what I mean? So and like you say, it has to be a realistic discount as well. Time is precious. But yeah, no, I find I'm fascinated by it. And I think those kind of propositions, that old saying, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true.
It is, yeah. It's fake and it's made up. But
Yeah,
I think because you'll see it in a lot of the online platforms, like I would use like Josh Form now, and you'll see it with like Calendly and even like Squarespace. They'll have a couple of different price options, and it will be down to the real, like, freemium kind of business models. This is your free, like MailerLite, free version. This is what you can get. This is the middle of the road, and it's always like popular,
yeah.
recommended option. And then you'll have like the enterprise model, and oftentimes it's like, please contact us for pricing. You're not going to contact them for pricing, and you'll only need that if you're really big and at scale. So you might start with the lower, and then it's actively not, like, there are some options not available in it so that they can get you onto the bigger model, but they'll get you in and tease you so you have a taster of it. It's
Yeah.
all done strategically, but I think from the value based, it has to be realistic, and it all depends on your customers' knowledge base coming into it. Website pricing. I've seen websites being sold for €600. I've seen them being sold for €6,000. But I know coming in, if I know what I need and I know and I'm knowledgeable about it, and I need somebody to come and build it, I could very easily go to the higher end because I know what I need and I know the value. But if you know nothing going in, you know, you'll just go by price, and that's how that will sway you.
And would you ever get someone to make a website for you for less than £1,000?
I did my own website.
I'll ask the question again. Would you ever let someone create a website for you for less
No,
than £1,000?
no.
No, neither
Not if
me.
I want to be, especially an e-com website, whatever about services, because really it's copy and a couple of pages.
Yeah,
I think it's different. If it's a service-based website and and you're doing your own copy and stuff, and they're just putting stuff together for you. But if it's an e-com website and there's products and the whole lot going on to it, no. If there's SEO involved, no. Nobody's doing that properly for less than
I think
thousand
this is
euro.
where people get very bogged down with websites. Like you can create a website for under £1,000 if it's what we call a brochure. So for a lot of coaches, say, and stuff like that, they could get
Service-based, yeah.
someone, yeah. But a brochure is like literally 1 to 3 pages. Then you've got e-com, but then at the same time, actually, if you set up a Shopify e-com, you can have a beautiful website. However, Shopify works best when it's sat on something created. But yeah, it's having that knowledge, and that's where business mentors, business coaches come in. We were at the thing the other night, and I said to somebody that we bumped into, "What did I say to you several months ago?" And she said, "I can't remember." This woman had made a call to me, and I said to you, "Please stop spending money until you've spoken to me," because I just see it. I see it every day. Every day. It's putting your money in the wrong places. If you have budget, amazing, but make sure it's spent in exactly the right place. Every single thing you think you need to do, you can find an A-class expert to do that for you and pay anything you like. You could pay £1 million for it. However, you need to work out exactly where your money should go and where the expertise is that you need. And sometimes that takes a new set of eyes.
Yeah, it's really, I see that across the board. And that expert, if they're selling you a product or they're specializing in a certain area, they'll be biased in that you need to invest in this area. You
Yeah.
need somebody that can step back and see everything from start to finish and then see where your pain points are. And that's what needs to be alleviated in one way or another. Because like I've seen like coaches and just service-based providers have WordPress websites as well. And like I don't understand why a Squarespace isn't good enough for something like that, because a template website is, I think, is more than enough for just service based.
Because Squarespace is all right. Okay, I don't mind it. As
And
someone
no
that's obviously
other
has
options
learnt,
are
yeah.
available, you know what I
And
mean?
I'm a WordPress wonder. Like I'm WordPress all the way. I take WordPress. I think it is amazing. The templates they have are unbelievable. Also, obviously with WordPress, like my Sean Horn website is a WordPress, but it's a bespoke WordPress.
Yeah.
So it's not a templated one. WordPress, I think, blow everybody out of the park, but that's a whole different conversation. I just say don't go near Wix.
Yeah, no, I don't like Wix. Wix is very
Yeah,
fiddly. I
I don't
don't
like,
like
I
it.
personally don't really like Squarespace either. I love Shopify. I love Shopify because I work with it with a lot of small businesses, and it's genius. It's so simple,
I
and
think
it
though,
can
if you're starting up and you're on your own, I think like anybody that knows their way around a computer will figure out a Shopify website until they get a budget to invest in it.
100%,
I think that's a
100%.
hundred, like where
And
people should be
you
starting.
can do training straight away. Look,
Yeah.
with all of this, with everything that you want to do, exactly this is why you need to speak to somebody, because there is lots of really cheap and free options to get you started.
Hmm.
Um, back in the day, I remember I had a friend, and she just couldn't get her head round like even talking to somebody about her business until her letterheads had arrived and her business card and all this fluff,
Hmm.
all this sizzle, but her steak wasn't right.
Yeah.
And whereas I'm a believer of get the steak right and start speaking about it straight away. Sizzle comes.
Yeah,
Don't
I had this.
panic.
I know I fell into that as well. It's like, oh, but I don't look like I'm ready. But I had the same conversation with somebody last week. We were just talking about the direction they were going in their business, and I'd given them an idea for like just a slight pivot off that direction. You know that where the budget, because I follow the money. I'm like, who are we selling to? Have they got the budget? There's no point in selling to people who don't have the money and who aren't wouldn't look at the value of the product or service enough to pay for it anyway. So I follow the money. Where's the money? Where are the people who can afford it and need it? That's a much easier sell. You're not having to convince people to fork out from savings or borrow. If the budget is there and the need is there, they're much easier sell. So we were slightly changing direction for a tiny bit, and she was, "Oh, should I change the name? The name doesn't fit now." And I was like, maybe, but that's not now. I was like, otherwise you're going to spend another 4 weeks on Canva and deciding a name change and a new logo. I was like, that's just
Yeah,
busy work, avoiding doing the action that will actually bring you sales and clients. So go before you're ready in that sense. But like
yeah.
that, develop the core offer, the product, what it is that you're selling, make that really, really good. Everything else is just busy work around it that develops it and makes it better. But if your core offering and your value behind everything isn't there and isn't polished, a name or a new and I've friends who and family who are graphic designers, so they'll murder me for this.
Well,
But
I
that
was actually just going to say, I just got hives. I just had to pull my collar up because she's going to spend another 4 weeks on Canva creating a new name and brand. No, she is not, because
no,
that's yeah, but that's what she thinks. But that's what a lot of small business thinks. There's only
yeah,
two, your brand is super, super important, and it's not a logo and it's not a name. So don't create it in Canva. Speak to somebody and do it right and do it the longevity. I know there's a confusion here because she's thinking of a name change, which is always very difficult. But we're back to perception, I suppose, and that rule and that law. Perception is really important, and your offering is really important. So just take some time with it. I just think we spend too much time over worrying this stuff.
yeah. And thinking everything needs to be polished and perfect, but that's all continuous. You're continuously like, and Stephen was talking about this the other night. It's the 1%, and that like I was a continuous improvement manager in one of my last roles, and it's always looking for that 1%. How can we slowly make little quick wins, make things slightly better constantly? So you're always looking at that stuff, and you're always polishing the core offer. But without that value of your product or service, that should be your main concern.
Yeah.
All
And
and selling it.
perception is value, but do not sell a 1-star product at a 5-star price, vice versa. Don't do it the other way either. And yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that 1%, like the continuous improvement. Also, the other thing I always think as well, and I say this to a lot of my clients, is get a second opinion. If I give advice to somebody, it doesn't sit in their gut, it just might not be right for them.
Hmm.
But then you need to do that work. You've got to be comfortable in your skin, and that also includes your business skin. So sometimes you might work with someone that gives you some advice, and if it's not sitting with you, then you won't be able to see that through.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I could go and spend 30 grand on my coach in America, and she could say to me, Sean, you need to do X, Y, Z. If it doesn't feel authentic and natural to me, I can't see it through. It doesn't matter what action I take, it's not going to be right for me. If it doesn't bring me joy, don't do it. So sometimes you just need a second opinion,
But
like you
what
would for a doctor.
I agree, because that becomes like it's this whole sunk cost. The whole issue with sunk costs as well. People hold on to it because like, I paid for this, I got this advice, I need to do something with it. You need to be able to stand back and go, okay, look, it's not going to work. We're just going to have to accept that as a loss and move on from it. But what I will say is when you are going for advice from somebody, looking for opinions, looking for strategy, mentorship, or anything, the best thing you can do before you speak to that person is figure out what your values are, your mission, and what's for you, and tell them that. That's the first thing. And I remember the first time I sat down with you ever, I sat down, I was like, Shan, because we had a power hour, I was like, these are my values, this is my vision, this is what I want to do. I was like, no, you can now give me information based on that, because if it's not hitting all of these points, then it's not for me. And you, as somebody giving me advice, need to know that these are the
Yeah.
boundaries you need to stay within. But
But you know
if you
what?
don't know
Some
what they
people,
are,
yeah,
you're going to
and
take in from everybody.
and lots of people don't know. I have a sheet of form for people that don't know, and I send it to them. It's my Dharma Karma sheet. And it's amazing how many people don't know. But
Yeah,
that's what a
it's
good, and that's where I love working as a mentor and a coach, because that's where I have to change my hat to a coach to draw that information out of them, and then I go back to being a mentor and go, now I know what you want and
yeah.
what you desire. This is how we're going to do it.
And this is now from small startup individual people. Like I sat down with a large company, one of my clients, and again they wanted to kind of put together like a strategy board, because to strategize scale. And the plan was to bring in people from different industries to sit down and just kind of do like a think tank. And I was going to coordinate it, but I was kind of like, what I said to them was, there's no point in doing this unless we establish what the values, the vision, and the mission statement are, because they're all going to come in and tell you what they think. but it has to work for you and what you want for your company. So I sat down with them and did their values and their vision and their mission. So now every time we're talking to somebody external, I refer back to, but these are your values. So you need to make sure, and I keep anybody else, it's like, this is what the values are. So we need to make sure any advice that's coming through here, the values are the lines that we draw. We're not going outside these. This is where all the advice needs to work within. And that's what it needs to be. And people
Yeah.
forget about that all the time.
They do. And you know what? Sometimes you need to as well. You know, as women, we're super flexible. So sometimes we set our values. Someone comes in and says, Sean, but you also value this. And you're like, oh, I need to tweak that. Do you know what I mean? So it's ever evolving, I think, always for everybody. We're always evolving as people and as businesses. So never worry if you've just got to go back to that, you know, every 6 or 7 months, have a little look and go, is it still the same? You know, the values for my business, that, you know, my oldest business, Elite, it's very different now than 10 years ago. It's very different if we go back. But
you should be doing it like when you're setting your goals for the year, reestablish your values, you know, and just keep thinking about it that way.
Brilliant. That is the perfect way to finish. Is there anything? Look, as always, we want your feedback. So please drop us a DM. Let us know what you think about the podcast. If you've got any things that you'd like to see us be doing, just let us know. And we'll be back next week with possibly 2 more, because they're quite short, these laws in the marketing piece. So we'll do 17 and 18 next week. I'm looking forward to actually the next one, how we package things up. Amazing. Pam, thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to like, share and follow.
The music used for the opening and closing of this podcast is titled Pleasant Porridge by Kevin MacLeod. IncompeteTech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0. www.creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0.